Elisa Meredith, and we are happy to be joined by Laura Reich of laurareich.com. In fact, our entire discussion today is based on a fantastic blog post Laura published earlier this month, and if you want to check it out, Elisa is going to be dropping it down in the comments. We are so excited that you are here today. We're going to be talking about all these really cool new things that are going on with Pinterest, if you don't know about those. In fact, if you do us a favor, if you know of somebody who is like, they need to know this information, will you just mention them down below? Let them know that we're going live. Let them know they can watch the replay, because we want to get this out to as many people as possible. And we want to make this show all about you. So make sure you drop your comments down below, and we will try to get to those during the show today. And by the way, I'd be just remiss if I did not mention we have some awesome templates at, you can go to bit.ly/TW Pinterest Toolkit. I have been informed there's new ones dropping as we speak, probably. They're so fresh, ready to drop. But go to bit.ly/TW Pinterest Toolkit and get those awesome templates. Elisa, how are you doing this afternoon, wherever time zone you're in?
Wow, I don't know when it is either. So I think we're well matched today. Yeah, I'm doing good. A little bit tired. Yeah. Some excitement with the family.
That's right.
Poor mom. Mom's not feeling well.
And Laura, tell everybody where you're from again. If we kind of talked before the show, but where are you broadcasting from today?
Minnesota. Makes us pull out our bad imitation.
Okay, there we go. So if you're in Minnesota and watching this, drop us a howdy in the comments. So,
for sure.
Anyway, so did I miss anything? At least, we want everybody to drop their comments down below. Let's see if we've got any so far. But we'll be talking about. We've got some people here. I want to say hi to Adrian. I think it's called Adriana. It says hi. It's Adrian. How are you doing? And of course we have, and I always say it wrong, so you're gonna have to say it, Elisa. It's
we're supposed to call her Rona, and then we don't mess it up.
That's right, Rona. Yeah. She's from Scotland. So cool to have you guys here with us. And there, my friend Sally Howe from the UK. Sally, I really want to go back to London really, really shortly, but I'm so glad you drop in. She's one of our faithful watchers. Thank you for stopping by. And also we have Anna Clark here today. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is going to be an exciting show.
It is. And I know we had popular requests. Cat.
Uh-oh.
We got a cat here today.
Oh, yeah. There she is, staring at. Oh, she doesn't like that. She's taking off.
No, he's busy. He's very busy.
So, by the way, you guys, I want to let you know at the top of the show, I don't know if you know this or not, but this is also a podcast. So if you miss this, or you want to be out on your daily jog or social distanced walk, if you want to listen to some awesome Pinterest news, we have a whole back catalog of all this stuff. So you can find it at Apple, on Spotify, your favorite podcast player. We're there. So go there, leave us a review and recommendation, and we really appreciate that as we go forward. So let's get it.
Yep.
Kick us off. What are this new news that you speak of, Elisa?
There was so much in this blog post, and I thought, it's been a while since we looked at the recent updates and changes and features that we could be using. And I thought, let's talk about it in the lens of, all right, what is this thing and how can we use it for our marketing? So the first one I pulled out is the Today tab. So Laura, tell us where we can find it. Maybe we can all go find it right now.
Yeah, for sure. It's actually super easy if you're on your mobile device. All you have to do is pull up Pinterest and then tap on the little home icon, and you will see at the top of your feed, it'll have a new section where it says Today. And so it's iOS or Android. Either of you guys can use it. And it's just curated ideas and content that Pinterest has out there for us to be able to consume, for sure.
All right.
So what does your Today have on it? Is it different, or is it going to be?
That's what I wanted to know.
Okay, so I'm going to go and find it and see.
Okay.
I think it's curated for all my stuff, and hopefully I won't be embarrassed about it. So
you can make something up if you don't like it.
Oh, this is pretty clever. So mine has, it's because I do a lot of cooking. It's an egg, and it says friends with. Oh, you got it too. Oh, I'm so disappointed. Friends with Benedicts. That's really cute.
I was
Super
under the
helpful.
impression that it was going to be the same for everybody because this is actually content that Pinterest is pulling for us, specifically that they think we're going to be interested in, not necessarily based off of your searches. It's information that they're pulling around to put in front of us to be able to explore and different things that are happening in the world around us that are timely that we may want to know about, kind of like new stuff too.
So I want you to scroll down a little bit because I want to see before you get to July 28th, which was the last one I have. There's a dude working out. Do you guys have that one too?
I don't have a dude.
See,
Nope.
I wondered if it was going to change. Like they have like the
Yeah.
top kind of like Instagram, but mine has up there. Get it in the screen
Down
here.
below, yeah.
Yeah, right before
Nope.
you switch to the next one, it has that.
My,
So
my second one is
awesome.
got hand blown glass. Yeah, I don't have
Yeah,
that one
I
either.
have hand-blown glass, and then I have fresh prints to style
no,
up
see,
your
I
game.
think maybe the first one's like the top one, and I'm wondering if like because I'm a dude,
Interesting.
it gave me some dude, workout. Like I'm going to do that. But anyway, it's very very interesting.
Pinterest is all about aspiration, right?
So,
Yeah.
this is a great question by Esther. She asked this. She goes, "Is the Today tab available on browsers on computers? I don't use mobile."
That's a really great question. And I don't know that I've checked that, honestly.
Yeah, because there's a couple people like Wendy says she uses Pinterest only on my computer, not on mobile. So
Yeah,
I'm wondering
it is there. It's there. If you just go to your home feed, if you go to home feed and then there's For You, Today, and Following, and I mean, it's there for me. Whether it's there for everybody, you never
there
know.
for me too.
I also want to do a shout out really quick to Mama Joe over on YouTube because we are simulcasting it on YouTube and LinkedIn and Periscope, and she is a faithful viewer over on YouTube. Thank you, Mama Joe, for dropping in today. So, yep, other people are finally finding it, I see in the comments on desktop. So, very cool.
It's the same content, too.
But do you guys use it? Do you really go there and look? Because
no.
To be honest, don't. I usually search.
I do.
Do you?
Do you?
Yeah, I love it.
I suspect probably more like normal people rather than like crazy Pinterest marketers, which we all are. But like, I'm guessing people probably do use it.
Here's a great question for you, Laura. So this is from Haley. She goes, I'm seeing a few different things and it's exciting, but how are we supposed to leverage this for our accounts? That's a great question. How would you answer that, Laura?
Yeah, so there are a couple different ways that I've been looking into leveraging it because it's so new. I don't like have stats or data or anything that says like, hey, this is exactly how we should be using it, right? But one of the things to note that even though the Today tab is available in most of the countries, most of the information that's pulled into that Today tab is from US and UK. And so we want to focus on that and know that based on where you're at in the world and how you're doing your strategies. I think one of the cool things is like for food bloggers, right? There's always stuff in there that they have that is relevant or in the top of other people's searches that we could somehow bring into our brand. And then there's other topics and trends that they're showcasing that Pinterest is saying, hey, check this out. And so if it fits with us, there are a number of different ways to incorporate that into our content and then be able to share it on our profiles as well.
Gotcha. So here's another in that same vein, and a lot of people are asking this, and this is from Brenda. She goes, okay, how is this content pulled in for the Today tab, i.e. how can we get our content on that? And Rona says that you can also submit your content to be featured on it. So do you, either of you two, know how to do that and what the process is, or how easy it is to maybe get featured on there? Because I know that's what everybody will want.
Yeah, so I don't for the Today tab. There are specifics for the other shop tab that we're going to be talking about later here, but I do know that they have a list of individuals that they have deemed those accounts as experts in certain industries, and they'll actually pull from that. So they, I'm assuming, probably have a process to be able to do that, just like they have accounts that are merchant verified for shopping and things like that. And then the biggest reason that I'm hearing across the board that they brought this in is also to be able to have a better option to filter this information, right? To make sure that there's not misinformation on the platform about certain things. Because of the world that we're in today, they want to make sure that we have an area where we can go and know that that's vetted content that they say is going to be relevant, is going to be helpful, and it's not something that's going to violate different policies that they have in place as well.
Gotcha. That is very, very cool. So,
so there is a link. I posted a link. If you're in the UK or in Canada, you can apply to be featured on the Today tab.
Okay.
I haven't found one for the US, but
how do they do that?
Well, there's a link.
Oh, there's a link. There's just a link that you can submit. Okay.
There's a link to the Medium blog that Pinterest has, and then there's a link inside of that article to submit your material to be featured.
Gotcha. Can you drop that in the thing in case people are interested?
It is dropped.
You
yes.
did it. Awesome.
I did it.
So I kind of think it's something almost like, Instagram's doing that kind of thing over on their platform. It seems to be like this is a popular thing because I guess we're lazy and a lot of people like this curated thing where we can go to and just look. If you're not a grubby marketer like Elisa and I, and Laura seems like she's more of a normal person, that we, they go and use that because it's a quick place to kind of catch up on what's trending, what's in the news, that kind of stuff. So I think it makes sense, and it's kind of a cool thing. Yeah.
And we were used to that, right? We have our news feeds. Even on Facebook, we have the regular news feed, but then we have the actual news feed with reputable sources. So I think we're used to that being served up something that somebody thinks we'll be interested in on this particular day.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Very cool. So
all right, we got another one. Oh, we have another question.
No, go ahead.
Okay, Lens, Jeff. Do you remember when Lens first came out?
I did.
I almost
went and
found that tweet.
So it was a whole thing. How many years ago did Lens come out? So it was a big joke. Elisa thought it was very funny because I took a picture of myself, and what the suggested thing was a baboon or a monkey or something. It was really, and I actually went in before this and tested it, and it's not. It's other bearded dudes now, but before it was yes, a monkey. So,
yeah, back in the day.
Yeah, it was pretty accurate. Yeah, I guess.
Back in the day, it wouldn't return images; it would return words.
Yeah.
So I think mine was much nicer to me. It said something about curly hair and some other nice things. But Jeff's, I'm pretty sure it was baboon, and we were sending them to the Pinterest team as we'd get them because they were so hilarious that the words they'd come up with. But
they used to have an actual Twitter account, which was Pinterest Lens, and it was a pretty funny account. So
it was.
I'm so sorry I missed that.
Yeah, it was pretty.
It's probably on Twitter somewhere. So what is it now? What is it about?
Yeah, Laura, tell us all about it.
Yeah, so it's another area to be able to discover inspired content, right? So the cool thing about it is when you go into it, you actually go into the search bar, you tap on the icon, you snap a picture, you can visually search, right? So it doesn't just have to be on your computer anymore. You can actually use the Lens camera, which was something that wasn't possible maybe when you guys did search in the past, right? And so if you're out at a restaurant and you love that food and that dish that's in front of you and you want to try to replicate that at home, take a picture and upload it and see what comes up. If you're watching a TV show and you love what the celebrity is wearing or just anything that's on that show or whatever, you take a picture, you upload it, and it's going to bring you a whole bunch of options related to what you're looking at and what you're viewing, right? So it's really cool to be able to kind of immediately turn those things that you're craving or wanting more information on into something that's actually relevant and consumable.
That's awesome. So, I of course I see the e-commerce part of this. I see I see some, like I'm at my friend's house and I really like their, lamp. And I take a picture of it and I can find that lamp if I want to buy it later. Because you can actually take a picture of it, I believe, and use it from your camera roll. You don't have to do it live. Yeah. You could take a picture and go, I took this. I want to have, I want to see where I could get this lamp or whatever. So
Yep.
how can marketers, Laura, like use this or, integrate that into their strategy of creating pins or, uploading their product catalog, all those sort of things. So what are some like ideas or strategies you have for people who could like maybe maximize it to show up on this lens search?
Yeah, so I think one of the fun things that I talk to my Rockstar crew in my personal space when I'm teaching different things in terms of marketing on Pinterest is um, like Russell Brunson has funnel hacking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have something that I call pin hacking, right? And
Oh,
so
very clever.
don't reinvent the wheel, but like if you take a picture of something that you offer or you can provide value on or things like that, and you use this lens tool, look at what's pulling up because that's what you want to try to use in your brand, in your designs, for your titles. I mean, there's a vast majority of things that you can do, but use it as research for yourself to see, okay, if these are what's pulling up, and my design is completely different, then maybe you need to rethink what you were using. If it's e-commerce and it's products, right? Maybe you're only doing model shots, or maybe you're only doing close-ups. So maybe you take a picture or upload a picture that you've had and you turn around and you see that they're those styled photos that have that nice background that look like the wooden floor and then shoes with them or something to this fancy shirt that you were looking for. And you don't have any of those flat lay styled pictures, then maybe that's something you should start to incorporate in your pin designs as well.
Ooh, that's a great point. That's a great power tip right there. Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense, is seeing what's getting pulled up and then kind of, pin hack. I love that term. That's really cool. So pin hacking and pin hack that to see, if you can get it showed up there. I do want to bring up a comment. This is back when we were talking about the Today feed, and Rona has this. She goes, she remembers seeing Pinterest also promotes the Today feed in your home feed, and it was asking for submissions. So she said to look out for those pins because I have not seen that yet, but that is very, very cool. So yeah, I learned something new every day.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet either.
Thanks, Rona, for that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I wonder if it's one of those things that's being shared more in the UK and Canada as a test or something.
Could be. So I just want to clarify for some people that, people are asking, is this just tutorial just for, or this live just for UK and Canada? We're covering everything. And sometimes they show up in different places. Some people get them before others. Elisa, do you have story pins yet even?
No.
I have
No.
them. So,
No?
yeah.
No, I don't have them.
So
I love my story pins. I'm so sorry.
So, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But Lorena asked this question. She says, how do you use the lens on a browser, like desktop? And I believe you can't, right?
No, it's a mobile option.
Yeah. Just for mobile. But it does work on both iOS and Android, correct?
It does.
Okay.
Yep.
Just want to clarify that. So,
and the biggest thing too is I want to clarify, a lot of people ask all the time, like, I don't see this. When is it coming out to me? And it's just like other channels, right? Instagram, Facebook, things like that. Because it is an app, make sure that you go to your phone settings and you look for updates for that app too, right? Mm-hmm. Because I thought that I still didn't have story pins until about a month ago. And I went in and I updated my app and bam, they were there. So it doesn't mean for sure you're going to get it. But if you haven't checked that out in a while, do that.
Don't tell Elisa
point.
that because I want to have it. No, dang it. See, I wanted to be ahead.
I haven't done that in a while, so yeah.
Now she's going to be equal.
Yeah, they have to push out those updates somehow. And so a lot of us, even myself included, don't think about that. But if you're looking for an update that you're waiting for, make sure that you're checking that you have the most updated program of that app on your phone too.
Very good.
So as far as using Lens, I had to go remind myself how to do it. So can you direct people how to do it on their phones?
Yep, I can. So when you are on your phone, you're going to see on the bottom there the home and then the magnifying glass. If you tap on that magnifying glass and go up to the top, in that search bar, you're going to see where it says search for ideas and then the camera right over here on the side. If you just tap on that camera, you're going to have to give it permissions the first time, but you can see me, or you can upload the pictures from down here in your camera roll and use it that way too.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. So the technology for that is really, really awesome. If you haven't played with it, they have been those super geniuses over at Pinterest Engineering. They have done some really cool stuff with how well it can find stuff. Like even like a brand of shoes, you know, to me, all shoes look the same, but I guess to my wife and my daughter, they're totally different.
Okay.
You can pick different ones out. Go ahead.
Here's another really cool thing, right? Going on how things look, you may think that shoes don't look really cool, and someone else may.
Right.
They have this completely brand new feature that I don't even think you guys knew I was going to talk about. Maybe you did or didn't, but you see that little button down at the bottom? It says try on. They are now featuring certain businesses. You can apply. You go to Pinterest for, if you search lens and then the try on option, they are allowing businesses that have products that can visually be seen. So glasses, lipstick, earrings, things like that. And you apply for that and they'll let you do a try on feature. So you actually visually look at yourself with this product on before you even go to make the decision to purchase it. And I think that is so fun, especially with us all being stuck at home right now. Like I could shop lipsticks for days with this try on thing.
I've tried on some pretty ugly lipstick on this thing. I haven't seen anything other than lipstick, though.
No, all I've seen is lipstick because I was like, it was really scary. I was going to show some pictures, but I was like, you guys do not want to see that. So, but oh my gosh, for the makeup and like Laura was saying, glasses and stuff like that. I mean, I bought my last pair of glasses because I could go and do it. I didn't have to go to a glasses store. I could do it online and I could try them on that way. And I think that's where things are going. I think that's really cool if you're selling a product. Yep. I would even say it's going to come really, really soon that you'll be able to try on T-shirts and stuff like that. Like, you know, like Teespring and all those people are probably going to be able to jump on the bandwagon because there's a huge T-shirt component to Pinterest, you know, selling online. I can see that happening really quick as well. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. So it's very, very cool.
Something I've noticed too,
like the fun of it.
The fun of it, Yeah, and like Lowe's, the home improvement store, you can go to their website and will say, try this in your space. And I've noticed the stores that have tried this on also have that kind of feature on their website too, which allows you to just like see the couch where it would be in your living room, which is very, very cool.
Yeah, a lot of people are excited about this try-on thing, trying on the lipstick, and other people are think this looks amazing. So before we go on, I want to make sure you guys, if you're joining us a little bit late, that you don't forget to let people know that what we're talking about here. If they're interested in Pinterest, tag them down below, pull them into the conversation, and don't forget that we have this awesome toolkit, all these really cool templates that Alicia has put together. You can get that at bit.ly/TW Pinterest toolkit. That's bit.ly/TW Pinterest toolkit. All lowercase, all smashed together. We're talking with Laura Reich of laurareich.com. She's got some really cool things she's sharing about kind of updates on Pinterest. So thank you for joining us today. So here we go. What's next? What's our next big news? Visual search?
Visual search. Yeah, visual search.
Yeah.
So how can we use, how does a regular user, how are we going to use that? How do we find it?
Yeah, so visual search has been around for a little bit. It's gotten more evolved with things like the lens being added to it and being a little bit more smarter than the baboon that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
But basically, when you pull up a specific pin, and I can do it here on my phone so that I can show you guys as well. When you pull up a specific pin, it has this little thing at the bottom right-hand corner.
Mm-hmm.
That will also do a similar feature like the lens does. And so you can highlight different things on that pin, whether it's a specific product that you're looking at, whether it's the whole pin and the text, and you want to find more information about that service or that value that that person is providing. As marketers, what's really cool is you can actually use this to be able to test what you're putting out there in terms of your content, service-based or product-based, it doesn't matter, right? But it's going to couple your design with other things that Pinterest is categorizing your pin as. And so you want to make sure that, especially if you're a product-based business, you're tracking how that's setting it up, right? So are you using those close-ups versus using the lifestyle images versus white space or different style fonts so that it's more legible, things like that. And so don't forget to use this option once you've uploaded a pin, just to make sure that maybe your background image is throwing the whole thing off and you're coupled with computer sales. And you would have had no idea if you didn't actually look based on what your design style is.
That is a great point, because I've actually done that before with logos, because it was at one time pulling up logos different. I want to pull up really quick just an example that because I use this all the time, to be honest. This is one of the features that I use a lot. So, for example, here's like, if you can see it, it's like this, it's an Edison photo. I don't know if it'll focus. Can I get that in here? But what it does is that Edison like bulb, it goes and it pulls up all those different ones at the bottom. Let me pull it up here. But I just think that is so cool when you're trying to find things, especially if you're selling a product or something like that. I just think that is amazing. And when I search for stuff like that and being able to pull up things that are, really, really close, man, I just think for e-commerce and people who are selling that, like Laura was saying, see what's getting pulled up, because you want to make sure you're right in the right category and getting those sales.
Yeah, and I like that. It really backs up the point about making sure your product is the central focus of the photo itself. So don't make Pinterest look too hard, or they're going to find another one that will fit that. But one of my favorite things about this is if you have the Pinterest Save extension on your browser, I have it on Chrome, I can go to any website. Like right now I'm on anthropology.com, and there's a circle with a little rounded, broken up square in it. And if I click on that, it searches Pinterest for similar items. So if I'm on Anthropology, I'm like, oh, I really like these leopard print low top sneakers, but I don't want to pay $90 for them. I can click that button and it will search Pinterest for other things like it. It's so cool.
That is cool. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's very similar to the features that you have, I've noticed anyway, on Amazon. Because like you can be at a store, and if you want to do a price comparison, like you just said, you can take a picture and do price comparison. There's apps, there's Amazon, things like that. And so I think it's really cool that Pinterest is now getting into that mix, because it does have a lot of purchasing power for those products, and it can help you just as much as an app or Amazon or things like that. And so I think it's really cool how they're just kind of syndicating everything and bringing people back into the platform to really help us as content creators as well.
That's a great point. So I want to pull up from Shireen. She goes, she didn't know about this. She's trying it out now. So that's what's so cool, that sometimes we get so like, we got to create pins and put them up and link back, and we forget about some of these other cool things. And Rona has this point. She goes, this is especially good to check if you're using stock images, which goes back to Laura's point of like, okay, are you coming up for the right thing? Like if you have, I'm just thinking of like, there's a lot of, financial kind of blog posts or whatever. And a lot of times there's money in the background, and you want to make sure if that money stock photo is going to pull up for something maybe that doesn't fit or isn't a good, thing, so always check it. Try different parts of your screen, see what's going to show up when you highlight a high point of your image, and see what's coming up as those kind of related pins. But very, very cool stuff.
Yeah, and I think you touched on it a couple minutes ago, but also make sure that when you're putting your branding on those images, that it's not in that bottom right corner, because that's really going to skew what that search pulls up, because it lives there, right? And so you want to make sure that you're giving Pinterest the opportunity to scan the whole thing and be able to see your branding right elsewhere instead of having that icon right on the top of it.
So, Elisa, do you think that is why in some of these, I know that Lucy talked about it a couple of weeks ago when we had her on from Pinterest, talking about for branding your pins, not to use just like www like tailwind.com, but actually put the bug or the logo on it instead of having it written out. Do you think that's maybe one of the reasons why?
I mean, I think it's kind of separate. So I think she's mentioned, and I know we've mentioned that you want to have your branding or logo in the center of the pin. So usually at the bottom, it can be at the top, but you don't want it in the corners because that's where they tend to have their little elements like this one. But as far as having a logo over a URL, I think that's probably just a matter of like good branding, right? If you have a good logo, that's something that you want to be recognized for, and you want people to get used to seeing it. So I'm guessing that's where that comes in.
Gotcha. And here's a great question as well from Brenda. She goes, don't your descriptions and keywords help prevent mis-offered images?
I mean, they help, yeah, but if you want to be in that visual search, you've got to have the visuals that match. And I was kind of thinking that if I were selling a product, what I would probably do is a keyword search that I would think would bring up the product to see what my competitors are doing for photography. I would also do something similar on their websites and kind of try to make sure I cover all those bases so that if someone finds their pin, mine might be in more like this or in a visual search, just to make sure I get all of those photography options possible to show up in more of those searches.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and just remember too, like Pinterest is visual, right? Like that is the whole premise of everything. There are other things that go into it, but when we focus on only one piece of the strategy, it's going to skew and not be able to help us in terms of other things that Pinterest is constantly putting out there to be able to help us as creators, right? And so yes, your descriptions and your keywords and all those things are going to be helpful and should be included in it. But this, I think, is something that you definitely need to pay attention to, because even when I've done it where I have no stock image on mine and it's just a straight color on the background, it pulls a lot of the same colored pins, not necessarily the same context of those pins. And so you just want to be very careful on that regard to make sure that you're checking all the boxes in your strategy.
Yeah. Gotcha. And I think sometimes bloggers feel like, well, what am I supposed to do? I can't show in an image how to grow your email list. I mean, yeah, that's a totally valid point, right? But I think you do as many of these things as you can. And if it doesn't apply to you, it doesn't apply to your competitors or other people in your industry either. So you just do the best that you can. But this is really great, especially for product sellers.
Yeah, for sure.
So is there anything else on visual search we want to cover? I'm going to throw an audible in here because there's been a lot of questions, and I do want to talk because Laura has some experience, because I know Elisa doesn't have them yet, but talk about story pins a little bit. So I want to make sure we have a chance. But did we cover everything you wanted to on visual search? So yeah. I want to talk about, okay, this is part of it too. Let's talk about the types of fonts to use on pins, because as we all know, Pinterest can read your text. So I think that's part of a visual search as well. So Laura, will you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so going back to that thing that I was just mentioning too, is with that solid background color, I made sure, like even in this image, to be very clear, it says download, free is very large, right? Mm-hmm. I don't like those fonts. Don't use those fonts. I'm over those fonts. But like, make sure that you are highlighting those key phrases if you are going to use a text, right? Going into what I think you're alluding to is, please make the fonts legible. Please make them easy to read. Remember that a majority of us are on mobile, right? And so when you're looking at the feed, these images are a lot smaller than maybe when you have them blown up on your computer and designing them. Mm-hmm. And so even though the font may look pretty and it matches your branding, if people can't read it, and if the visual search can't read it, it's not doing you any good, and it's not going to be helping you. So be very, very careful in your choices of those fonts.
Awesome. That's what I wanted you to say.
Yes, you're leading the witness.
I was.
There's a link I'm about to drop in the chat for the Pinterest Medium blog, the engineering blog, and they actually show how Pinterest sees text on an image. It's really interesting. You got to go check it out because
really cool.
Yeah, I won't spoil it. You need to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
all right, so
really cool.
let's talk about, and I think, Laura, you're probably the first one I've ever heard that was really super excited. I just was excited to get story pins just because I had something that Elisa did not have, and that's the whole point of what I want and get stuff. But you're excited just to have them and use them. So, and I'm always like, but you don't have a link and all this stuff. So talk about story pins and why you like them.
Yeah, so I get all the time, like, it's a bummer we can't link back and things like that. But if you think about it, like Instagram, if you don't have a certain amount of followers, you can't link back either, but you don't see people not using stories, right? I think it's a way to do a number of different things. I think it's a way to highlight behind the scenes. I think it's a way to highlight different styles. Like I have a rep who is a LuLaRoe rep. We were talking about her in the beginning, right? She's a client of mine. And she actually will take one shirt and style it 5 or 6 different ways. And so to put something like that in a story pin and be able to tell that story in one shot without having to try to link 5 or 6 different pins is really cool for somebody to be able to get a feel for what you offer, get a feel for what they're getting into. I also think personally what we've seen is people start to trust the brand a little bit more depending on how you're using it, right? And so like food bloggers, you can do steps, product e-commerce. What about a behind the scenes and how things were made, or the conception of the product or the new design that you're creating? Maybe you're the watercolor person, or you do the fun script fonts, where I know there's a ton of people out there that teach that, right? Mm-hmm. And so showing those steps and those processes really brings more attention to you as a brand and to you as a business owner. And so what I've seen, and when I've been testing them, is it's bringing in those, what I call vanity metrics, right? The monthly viewers, the audience. But if you do a good job on it, they're going to investigate more from you and click through more of what you have on the platform. And then that's where they're going to find those places to engage with you in conversation, in sales, become a lead, things like that. And so to me, there's a vast number of possibilities in the terms of how you can use this depending on what your niche is.
Yeah. So that's really interesting that you said. I did not think of it as the way, like you talked about, you know, just because you don't get a link in stories, people still use stories. That's very good. I still wish, I really want Pinterest to give us just one link. Come on, Pinterest, come on.
So
just
I think this is not like professional or like,
right.
Like, this is hearsay. This is my opinion, right? I think it's coming because when I go and I upload a story, you are supposed to be able to upload it, go back into it, click edit, and see the link. I see the spot where I should be able to add a link. The second I tap on that, it disappears. So my sneaky suspicion is that it's coming soon. Don't quote me.
Well, yeah. So that's awesome, though. I hope and pray that you're right. Our friend Eileen says, awesome tips. They're loving your tips here, Laura. So,
great.
Yeah. And Charlene goes, in all caps, by the way, one link, please. Just one. Please, Pinterest.
Right. I would love it.
Yeah.
I would.
I think we all feel it. And I agree because there were some comments earlier that said that when they first started Story Pins, they went nuclear. It was from Kim. And she goes, but now they're not really performing the way they were. You know, whenever something new rolls out, it usually seems that's something to happen. But maybe if they do a link, that would help some of it. So we'll keep our fingers crossed on that one. So, but Elisa, she doesn't have much to say because she doesn't have them. Will you use them when you get them, Elisa? Finally?
I don't know. It's hard to resist trying them anyway. Right. And I like what Laura said. And I'm wondering about, like, for your LuLaRoe client, does she use some kind of call to action somewhere to try to get them onto her site, or what is the plan?
Yep, the last image that we upload for anybody in story pins is a call to action image, right? So we
Yeah.
switch out the call to actions all the time, but it'll be like follow us on our Pinterest account or things like that. The other really cool thing is in the Today tab and those feeds that they are featuring, when you
Mhm.
see a story in there, some of those actually have a call to action with a clickable button to follow their Pinterest account. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
I think because it's so new, there are some features that not everybody's able to explore or use right now. And so I think they will adapt it and things like that. But in the meantime, absolutely put a call to action in there. Let them know how they can find out more, why this is relevant to them, all the things that you would normally do in your
Right.
marketing. But don't like allude up to that, right?
Mm.
Like lead them in that story, just like you would anywhere else, Facebook stories, Instagram stories, whatever it is. And then at the end, once you've got their attention and they've gone through it, tell them what you want them to do. And I always tell my clients all the time, don't assume people know what you want them to do,
Right.
right?
Right.
You can't assume people know the action you are thinking should be a normal action to take. And so if you don't tell them what you want, it's not going to happen. Same thing with story pins.
Yeah. So my friend Sally asked earlier. She says she had, and she's in the UK. She said I had story pins, but they're gone again. Do you know if they're introducing them? And some other people have had the same things. They had it, and all of a sudden they've been gone. So, do you guys know any information about that, Lisa? Or is it Pinterest giveth and then it taketh away, kind of?
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
That's right. No, I mean, I think that they'll probably come back, but I don't have any
And Eileen
intel.
says that Pinterest adds the follow at the end of her stories. So
Yeah.
And
very,
I've
very
been
cool.
seeing that more. So I think that's something that they're also going to be rolling out, I would hope, because that would even help for those that can't add the link, right? It's just another option for a call to action.
Right.
Yeah.
And Kathleen asks this: what is your podcast name? It's called Marketing Unleashed, but you can find it anywhere on Apple, Spotify. Just search Tailwind, and we're the ones that come up. So search for Tailwind, and that's where we'll be. But thanks for asking, Kathleen. We appreciate that. And don't forget to go download the awesome templates that Elisa's put together at bit.ly/TW Pinterest Toolkit, and get those fresh new August ones that are coming out. Right,
Yeah,
probably as we
that's
speak, right? It's just like, it's
right.
right on the tip. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Kier, one of our designers at Tailwind, who has been working on these. About half of the ones were designed by Kier last month, and this
Cool.
month it's going to be all of them. So
Very cool. I'm looking forward to seeing those. So
yeah,
awesome.
good.
Okay, so I distracted us with story pins, but I thought that was something we needed to talk about. But so let's go on to the next thing, and that is product pins in the shopping tab. So this, they're kind of streamlined and everything. I kind of like their look, the layout. So Laura, what is a product pin?
Yeah, in short, it's another version of a rich pin. So we've heard of rich pins, and it's an organic version of that. The really cool thing, though, is they're giving different options on how to be able to use that, and where it's going to be found and things like that. And so for those of you who may be newer to Pinterest, just to explain, rich pins are those enhanced pins that give more data and kind of that extra oomph behind your pin itself. The rich pins have different things like products and articles and recipes and things like that. But what's really cool about this is you have products and catalogs and things up there that you're trying to sell. And if you want people to find you and they're finding you on Pinterest, they're giving you the option now to label that as a product pin so that people then can actually purchase, if you're set up that way, right from that pin and that product. There's a couple different things, and I don't know that we're going to probably get into the techniques of it today, but to do a product pin that you have to have in terms of creating, they use Open Graph and a different markup.
Schema? Schema?
Yes, thank you. Yep. And so you have to put that into your website and enable it, so to speak, so that it shows up as a product pin. But once that's done, then you can show up those pins. They do have the option to also be a verified merchant
Right.
on the platform now too, where you get that blue check mark, right? And so if you are a verified merchant, all you have to do is, if you do have rich pins that allow the products to show and you have all the right markups that you need on your website, you can apply right on their website under all their rich pin information that they give you on how to do it. And if you're verified, then they actually give you a tab specifically for all your shoppable pins right on your profile. And so it's really cool because people will still be able to explore different things that you have, but then also shop right from what you have on the platform.
Yeah,
That's awesome. I think they're awesome.
They are awesome. They also give you preferred placement across Pinterest if you are a verified merchant. So if you've gone through the work of getting that feed up there and registered, definitely you want to be verified merchant. And if you have Shopify, they have this integration now that makes it super, super easy. So go do it now.
So when I used to build websites back in the day, e-commerce was like, I hated it. I hated building e-commerce sites. Shopify is amazing. I have one just because that I used to test and sell little bitty things in, but it is amazing how it works. Karen has a great question, and she goes, I am trying to get product pins, but Pinterest had problems with being able to find my shipping policy. Is there something special that needs to be done? I do know that it needs to be clear, and it needs to be a place where because they want to make sure that just spammers can't throw up stuff and take people's money. So I believe you have to have a really clear shipping policy and a really clear privacy policy, of both of those things to get stuff going. So if you don't have one, that's why, like Shopify, there's a really clear spot and they know where to look for Pinterest to get verified. But if you're doing it a different way, I mean, I guess email help to find out. But if you don't have one, that's the reason. If they can't find it, then you probably ought to figure out a way to point them to it a little bit easier, I guess. What do you guys think?
I wonder if you need to have a return policy as well, and they're just not.
Yeah, usually the shipping and a return and a privacy, I think, are the ones that you needed to have, if I can remember back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's still relevant with a lot of the website stuff and all the GDPR. Like, you've got to have the terms and disclosures and all that. So I would urge that person to double check. Also, the cool thing is if you are a TPT or Teachers Pay Teachers or an Etsy shop owner and you're going through e-commerce that way, you actually don't need to do all the markup that someone, say, on WordPress would have to do, because that's already being done for you in the back end. So if you are someone like that, go ahead and go through the process to become a verified merchant, to be able to have those product pins on the platform as well. And if you're on Shopify, I have set up a number of different clients on there, and I swear it took me less than 20 minutes to do it, because it's so streamlined and so easy. I was like a giddy kid in a candy store when I saw that come out. It was so awesome.
Yeah. Very easy, and it's just very, very cool. So, so you answered Laura's question. She had, does it work for Teachers Pay Teachers on their own site, verified merchant? So, so I'm guessing she's asking if you have it pulled into your own website and not right off Teachers Pay Teachers. And what would you say to that, Laura? Do you know?
I don't know specifics on that. I would look more into the rules with Teachers Pay Teachers as well, just to make sure that everything is kosher between both platforms. And then again, go back and verify things. The one thing I do know is if you are using Etsy and you are using TPT, you should be able to, if you make a change on a product or something that you have on that store, you should be able to see that information change on your pins within 24 to 48 hours. And so I would also say test that and see if you change it on wherever you're hosting your TPT store and make a change, if it shows up, then it's probably correlating. But again, go back to where is your privacy policy, your return policy, things like that. Because if you're hosting it on your own website, it probably doesn't show teachers pay teachers information. I guess I'm not 100% sure, but I would just best practices, make sure you have that visible as well.
Yeah. So Shireen says Shireen, yeah. So she goes, we noticed a huge increase in views when we got our verified status. So that is really cool to know. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. I love that how easy it is for people now to sell and pull their store in just with a few steps. And so, I've actually helped clients. They had their own like back end thing for the e-commerce, and we moved them to Shopify because it was just easier. I mean, they probably paid thousands of dollars and they couldn't do the same things that Shopify could do, like with tracking inventory and all that stuff. And I'm like, it's like Laura's saying, it is so easy. So I can't recommend it high enough because it saves so much time. And there's also a lot of plugins as well. Like if you can't figure out something or need to tie it into your inventory system or something like that, they have this huge merchant kind of marketplace where you can usually find a plugin that can, do stuff for you. And, if you're out of stock, it'll send them an email and all sorts of cool stuff. So make sure you check them out.
So let's talk a little bit about product pins. We've already talked about how to make sure that you are able to show up in search and visual search especially, but what do you guys think makes a really great product pin? In terms of the design. No, like what elements go into the design of a great product pin?
Oh, that's a good one.
Do you guys have any favorites? Maybe people listening, if you have any favorite retailers on Pinterest who make really beautiful pins.
So I like to look at a lot of crafters, like woodworking guys and stuff like that. And a lot of times they'll sell on Etsy. And the thing that'll kill me from going and seeing their site, if I don't see price and I don't see, and if I click over and it goes to some wackadoo thing, this, because I can tell what's, if it's got a price on it, I know it's a product pin and I can buy it. That is huge for me. And also it's usually, like we've talked about before, it's really clear. It's like what I was showing, like the Edison sculpture with that light bulb. It was you knew what it was. It was still styled, but it was like you knew what they were selling and what was in the product. So I guess simple but styled, I guess, would be what I would say.
Yeah, I think for myself, like in my agency and the way we've kind of seen changes over the last couple months, going off that simple but styled, I think we've seen a lot of an increase in terms of the clicks and the sales of product pins when there's more negative or white space as well. You're not trying to fill it up so much, but you're really trying to highlight what they're going to be getting in a very nice fashion. And if I remember correctly, the templates from July that you guys had for downloads too were focused on white space. Mm-hmm. And I think that was very timely because we've actually seen more engagement on the pins for those product things when we've included that simple and negative or white space into that design as well.
Very cool.
Yeah, so what do you think about the idea of, we know lifestyle images tend to convert better, but when you're looking at like visual search, you'll see a lot of just the products on white space. So I don't know, to me that says like, do it all. Right. show your product in as many different elements as you can. Don't go overboard, obviously, but
right.
Do lifestyle, do product. But yeah, I think lifestyle to me is compelling a lot of times.
And it depends on the product. It always does. So if it's a toilet brush, I just want to see it on a white background. I don't want to see it in the toilet. You know what I mean? It depends on the product. That sounds silly, but like it makes a difference if it's furniture, if you have like a lamp or something, a lifestyle shot makes sense. And people would probably buy that lamp from that shot. But I think it all depends on what kind of product it is. Another great question. Sorry, I want to make sure we get this one because I think it's good. Kate asked this. She goes, do you, can you use it for ebooks or like merchant pins for an ebook or an e-product or something like that?
Yeah, so it's under my understanding, and the way I personally use it for myself and clients is that if it is something that can be purchased and you put that markup on the page, then you can use it as a shoppable pin, right? So if you actually went onto Pinterest and searched a certain ebook that was similar to what you would be offering, you're going to be able to see things that have the prices on them and can be purchased from the platform as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think it's good to know too that if you're someone who has 1 or 2 products and the prices don't change, you don't have to do the feed. You can create a product and tag it with a product tag, and it becomes a product pin, which is really pretty cool for people who just have 1 or 2 things.
Right. That's a great point. So I wanted to bring up this from Eileen. She goes, "Hey, I missed the downloads for July. Can you please share the link?" Well, you can get it, but they're dropping. The new ones are dropping really fast, and you can get those, Eileen, at bit.ly/TW Pinterest Toolkit. So make sure you grab those before Elisa takes them down again.
I never take them down. They're always there.
I know, but I just had to
Putting
say
the pressure on you today, huh?
she should see what she does offline. It's just, you know. Anyway. So we got about 5 minutes left. So we covered, we covered visual search. We've covered the story pins, product pins, lens, today tab. What else do we need to talk about? We've talked about what makes a good design for a product pin. Did you ever say what you really thought, Elisa, what you liked about product pins? What stood out to you?
Well, I really wanted to hear what other people thought, but I mean, it is known that adding some subtle branding is important. A call to action, even on a product pin, can increase conversions tremendously. And depending on the product, like obviously if it's a toilet brush, you know what it is, you don't need the context. But if it's not really clear, or if there's something to be gained by it, have your text on image. Lifestyle images are always great on Pinterest because people are looking for something to add to their lives, right? Something to improve their lives, and it makes it easier to visualize how it would fit in your life if you can see it in a real life setting, if you can see someone or something benefiting from that product or service in the image. So I know a lot of people do just straight like product shot on a white background, and maybe that works great too, but I think there's a lot to be said for that lifestyle image and with a little bit more context and direction.
Yeah. So Maggie has this question. She goes, do people really want to see price on the product bins? I say yes. So I think so, because I think people, even if they don't buy right away, they save them to a board to buy later. That's what the cool thing is about Pinterest. So do you, and I haven't tested this. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, if you have hesitation on doing that, I can completely understand if they're, she's talking. I completely understand if there is some hesitation based on like what the price is. Maybe it's a more expensive piece that you're trying to do. So test it out, right? I can't stress enough, even with product pins, when we talk about white space or we talk about how to style it or how to lay it out, lifestyle versus actual product, like you're going to need to test, right? Because just because this one image is doing really well in terms of sales for this company doesn't mean if you do a similar style, it's going to do the same. Same with like when you see Facebook ads, you'll see a Facebook ad that's doing really well. Maybe you create a similar style or image or things like that, and your Facebook ad doesn't do as well, right? Same thing on Pinterest. Just test everything. Like Elisa says, don't go gung-ho and make like 50 images, right? But if you have a question between price or no price, test it out and find out for your brand what works.
Yeah, that's great. So we have come to the end of our time together because we have gone over so much stuff. We actually got through it today, which is pretty amazing. So, Laura, I want to make sure that if people do not know about you or where they can find you, what's the best spot where they can go and find out more about Laura?
Yeah, simply put, laurareich.com is the easiest place to find me. Anywhere on social media, it's at Laura Reich. Even now on my personal profile, I changed it because we had a question if I was Reich or Sura. I did just get married. So it's now Laura Reich Sura. So everywhere you want to find me, just search Laura Reich.
Yeah, and also we want to thank all you guys for watching. All the great questions and comments today. Rona, Irene, Sally, all the people who come every week, every time we have one of these shows and talk and just make it a blast. So we really like you guys, all your questions and being such faithful supporters of Tailwind. And as always, we would love for you to go grab that download at bit.ly/TW Pinterest Toolkit. And with that, Elisa, I'll let you have the last word.
You know what? You are very kind and do this every single show, and you would think at some point I would be prepared with some words of wisdom. However, I am not. But I will. Okay, here's one. So Pinterest in their community. If you haven't been in community and you have burning questions for Pinterest, absolutely go check it out. I'll drop a link. They released what pinners are searching for this week. And it's really, really interesting. There are things about school, remote work, homeschooling, life lessons, things that you might be able to use in your own content. So I'm going to drop a link to that thread in community. And again, just check out community in general. It's pretty cool.
Awesome. And with that, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks, Laura, for being here. Make sure you guys go check out her site at laurareich.com, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Bye, guys.